on the Texas A&M Sports Network. From Learfield, live from Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue on Harvey Road in College Station. Welcome to the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. Presented by Coors Light. Choose chill and gig 'em Aggies. 2024 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. And by Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Now, here is the voice of Texas A&M basketball, Andrew Monaco.
Howdy. It is so good to be back here at Rudy's. 504 Harvey Road here in College Station for another edition of the Aggie Basketball Hour. And since we were last with you, boy, an awful lot has happened. A win over Southern at home before 3 games in Las Vegas. Going 2-1 with wins over Creighton, who would then knock off number 1 Kansas, and Rutgers. A loss in Oregon was also part of that trip to Vegas. And then most recently, yesterday's win over Texas Tech 72-67 at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth. The Aggies are now 8-2 after that victory. We will talk about what has been for the Aggies and what's ahead for Texas A&M, including Saturday's date in Indianapolis against the Purdue Boilermakers. And we will do it with the Director of Creative, Josh Chambers, and Associate Head Coach, his 3rd season in that role, but not his 3rd season with Buzz Williams. Coach Devin Johnson will be along. That's what's ahead in the next hour of the Aggie Basketball Hour from here at Rudy's. We thank you so much for being here, joining us all along the network or Learfield's behind the mic. However you're joining us, thank you for doing that. We'll talk with Josh Chambers when we return. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. The 12th Man Foundation is the official fundraising organization and ticket provider for Texas A&M Athletics. Support a 75-year legacy and help shape the future of Aggie Athletics by donating today at 12thmanfoundation.com. This is the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. Actually, it's the Aggie Basketball Hour without Buzz Williams today. It's right. The Aggie Basketball Hour with Josh Chambers today is what it is. Howdy, my friend.
Howdy, how are you?
It is great to have you here.
It's an honor, man. I appreciate you thinking to ask and giving me the nod. I was here, I think, year 1, and I'm 5 years older now, and I
5 years older, and the family got bigger.
I was going to say, I married someone who was wise, so that makes me, I guess, a little wiser.
You have been around the right staff, maybe. Making those right decisions.
I agree. I can't. It's funny. I just told Coach Williams this. This is my 10th year, and so he gave me the Rolex at the beginning of the year, and I was like, Coach, this is by far the most expensive gift I've ever gotten. But honestly, what makes it cool is not the dollar figure, but the experiences, the memories. I met my wife in those 10 years. Mm-hmm. We had our first son in those 10 years. We've traveled the world and lived lifetimes in those 10 years. And so, like, when he was giving it to me, it was kind of all playing back in my head, like, man, we've won a lot of games. We've had a lot of success. 10 years is a long time, and a Rolex is really cool. But I don't think I could ever repay him for his example, the staff's example. I mean, they were all there when I met Sammy. They were a part of that journey to us having our first kid, moving to Texas, planting our roots here. So it was, an incredible gesture by him. But I had to make sure that he knew, that's a monetary thing, and I know that the commitment that takes. But the other stuff just blew me away.
But you look at that Rolex, and you don't even see the time, do you? You're just thinking memories.
I have no idea about watches, and Calvin, his son, he was telling me, this is like the elite of the elite watches. It's blackface and it's rare, and you can't get it anywhere. And I was just like, yeah, I think it's really cool. I'll probably never wear it. I wanted to put it in the little shrine I put behind my desk of just all the cool stuff I have. But my new roommate in the office back there told me probably shouldn't do that for a gift that valuable. So
no, you need a safe or something, some kind of strong
so.
box, something for that. A director of creative. I love the title because I think it is. You know how people have titles and you have no idea what they do.
Yeah, that's
right?
how you trick people.
That's exactly how you do it.
That's what I've done.
But your creativity, though, in so many ways. I wanted to start with, and I think we touched on this when we did meet and talk before. I think now in college athletics, it's about the brand. I think universities are brands. I think Aggies is a brand, and I think that's where we're going moving forward.
Right.
But you were so ahead of the curve, Josh, by allowing the players to have their brands and to have their own logo. One, how'd you come up with that idea? And two, what is it like when a player realizes that they get to design their own logo, do it with you, and then that is something that is unique and personal to them?
Yeah, I think that's been kind of a microcosm of what I've tried to make my title or my role. I've always kind of operated under the line of thinking that your role isn't what you want it to be or necessarily what you think you should be doing or what you're capable of even. Your role is what the team needs.
Yep.
And so I don't know if Coach, thought this when he hired me, but I've always tried to be shapeless and be ahead of the curve and find edge in areas that might give us a competitive advantage. And we have an elite staff here, 6 to 8 to 10 coaches who, relative to the game of basketball, are at the top of the industry. And the one coming on after me is probably the top of the industry in terms of rising stars. And their focus is on the things that matter, right? Between the lines, the game. The game hasn't really changed that much since I've been born. There's been rule changes and style of play stuff. Those guys are consumed with that. And so when I was hired on staff, I noticed that, and I wanted to just be positioned in the margins and figure out where can I help that's not going to get in anyone else's lane, that's not going to take anyone else's buckets. But I know that the stuff outside of the game, outside of the lines, is changing rapidly. And so it started when I was hired. I was doing a lot with recruiting in terms of graphics, edits. How can we get a little bit of an advantage on the competition in terms of what we're sending kids, what we're showing them when they're on visits? That evolved. Now, as you mentioned, NIL has become a huge factor in the landscape. And so the personal brand, the logos, having those conversations with the kids. But it trickled to everything. COVID it shrunk our travel party. There was no team bus too.
Right.
So I picked up a camera and tried to learn photography, and I just watched YouTube videos every day. And, and then, we went to the NIT that year, and everyone on the selection committee was saying scheduling. And so I was, how can I just dive into scheduling and figure out what is the best schedule to position yourself to make the tournament? And so now I do stuff with scheduling and lineup efficiency and coaches leadership stuff. So taking some, helping him prep for, whether it be a class or a locker room talk or a preseason, something that helps those guys be the best they can be at the stuff that really wins games, like the stuff that the fans want to see, the tactics, the recruiting, the relationships with the guy. Those things are, in my opinion, the primary reasons that we've been successful. And any of those tertiary things that I can pick up and just try to help with, I think that's been my main goal. And a segment of that has been working with the student athletes in their brands. And I think we were lucky that we had a good group of guys who were open to that, and it made my job really easy to have those conversations. We have a very communicative staff and player base, and so that stuff kind of flowed naturally. But it is cool to kind of get to their story and put it on paper and, no, that doesn't look good, change this. Actually, this is important to me, let's do this. I think that deepens the relationship and kind of, at the base of this, I do think I'm semi-creative, but I think at the, my primary objective is just to be a friend to the guys, be someone that they can. I don't have any stake in who plays and who doesn't, or what play we're running, or what defense I just want to, almost like for the staff, be available to them, be available to the players, and I think using my skills, whether that be logo design or brand insight or any advice, I want that to be something that they can go to.
Because 4's logo is going to be different from Q's logo, which is going to be different from Boots' logo, which is going to be different from Solo's logo, right?
Sure.
That's where it really gets personal. But by knowing them, you can kind of craft it toward – it's almost like then that becomes part of their personality as well. Like how do you if you had to design something for 4, right? How do you design a smile? Because to me, that's 4. There's the joy of the game is in Wade Taylor the fourth, to me.
I would say that's –
you know what I mean? But along your lines, if you don't have that relationship, then it's just – I've always said this. I say this about recruiting. If it's not a relationship, it's a transaction. Yeah. It would be the same way with what you're trying to do as well. It could just be the same logo. Okay, he's gone. Let's give it to the next guy who comes in. But it's not that way, is it? And then you have to listen to him as well.
100%. And that's more so Coach's genius than anything I've done is he understands that point, the relationship point. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of schools have gotten to the point where they have someone in the athletics department that can do what I can do or probably do it better than I can do it. But if you're not in the foxhole every day, if you're not around 4, if you're not around Q, if you're not around Boots, that relationship, the human element, it isn't necessarily as potent. And so I've been lucky enough to be in these locker rooms after big wins, after brutal losses, even this year. Mm-hmm. And that only strengthens that bond, and they may share a little bit more with me, or I may be able to dig something up a little bit deeper, and that's going to show in not only their logo, but, hey, we might get to an idea that we would have never gotten to because they don't have that trust with someone else. But, again, Coach, he understands that relationship piece maybe better than anyone I've ever been around. We have a really tight-knit group, and I think you could copy and paste that, whatever we're talking about, that genre of effectiveness into anyone's buckets. Why is our team play so hard? Well, it's the relationships. Mm-hmm. Why are we really good at graduating our players? Well, it's the relationships. It's the importance. It's these guys care about each other. Those things trickle into every single bucket we have.
So let's talk about yesterday. You win in Fort Worth. You're in that locker room post-game. You hear Buzz, right, say what he's saying. In your mind, can you see the video that you're about to put out with that? Do you think like that at times and say, we really need to capture his words with how that 40 minutes just went in the win over Texas Tech?
It definitely got to that point. There's usually a theme leading up to the game, so we'll want to try to figure out what song is going to be good for this. We want to play it out in our head as if we're going to win. And then the job's already kind of done. We just need to put the clips in. So we're listening intently to what Coach says. I do need to shout out my 2 students, Alex Albert, a.k.a. AA, and Carson Reichert. Those 2 guys kind of I've been able to delegate a lot of that to them. Mm-hmm. And so now we have our team of creatives who are every word that, Coach Williams is saying, the assistant coaches are saying, the players are saying, we're collecting all that in our heads during the game as it's playing out. We're kind of crafting the narrative that we want to put on display for not only, recruits and donors and fans, but I think storytelling is a huge part of what we do too. You have to believe what we're doing and what we're doing. And part of that is like telling the boot camp story, telling the individual story. I don't think anyone wakes up out of bed and wants to go do hard things. I think that there has to be an emotion evoked. And I think storytelling is as old of a way, as timeless of a way to do that. And I think part of what I think we do is that, and maybe more so for the fans or donors, we do it for the players. We want them to, hey, I believe in this. I see it. I watch it back. This makes me feel more connected to the group.
Stick around. One more segment?
Yes, sir.
You got it. Josh Chambers is with us. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. We're taking a break. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. When you need a new roof or just have a pesky leak, you want to call on the winning team at Schulte Roofing, home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. Get the best. Visit SchulteRoofing.com. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. We are with Josh Chambers, Director of Creative for basketball. And as he mentioned, 10 years now with Buzz Williams, and that does mean a Rolex handed to you by Buzz. This year, Buzz was teaching. You were in that class. You were almost like a proctor. As he said during one of the earlier shows that, yeah, Josh kind of tells me what I can do better for the next one. But how was that? Because, look, coaches are leaders. They really are. They just lead on a court, not in a classroom. And I've had a couple of students, not athletes, students say They couldn't wait to take that class, and they're just blown away by what Buzz offers every class.
Yeah, it was something. It was I'll start off. I mentioned her earlier, but I'd be remiss if I didn't start talking about my wife, because we taught that class. My son had just been born, so basically we're preparing in the first few months of my son's life. We're preparing for that class, which one thing I pride myself on is preparation. Like, I'm not going to go into a meeting with coach or a class lecture, and we haven't done everything we can do to be successful for that meeting or that class lecture. And her toughness, her fortitude, her humility, her humbleness throughout the process of maybe the most busy time of the year for how we operate, on top of teaching a class, I can't thank her enough, and I'm in awe every day of how she operates, how she handles herself, the grace she has. So just wanted to say that piece. The class was immensely more challenging than I thought, because I think coach prepares at an even greater rate than I do. So those meetings turned into hour-long meetings where we were, building out the course catalog. And in it, I don't think I realized, I was just consumed with how can we put the best stuff in application, and coach was really passionate about pouring into the next generation. That's how this whole thing started.
Right.
I don't think I realized, one, how grateful those kids were, kind of to your point. They wrote pages of notes after we were done about how much they appreciated it. Coach and I thought that was really cool. I think we were so consumed with doing a good job, we may have forgot that piece a little bit. And then two, it was just such out of our element, getting us out of our comfort zone type of deal. And I think we both learned a lot from it. We both, we really enjoyed it. I think we'll do it again. I think, because you said he's a leader, he's a learner. He's, those two things, they're gonna matriculate into a classroom somehow. And his passion for helping people, I think that I enjoyed it. I think I learned a lot. I got a lot smarter, and I just can't articulate how awesome it was to have students come up to you and say thank you. That was a really cool feeling.
I think you just said something that I've often thought. He reminds me of Pat Williams, who I worked with, the Magic, who just passed away, because there's a curiosity in Buzz and the learner part. It's one thing to be the leader, but he hasn't stopped learning.
Yep.
So I'm giving you this lesson. He's learning a lesson. Oh, I can give you, like, that never stops. And when that never stops, that curiosity just continues, and it makes you a better person. But it's that effect. It's not just the 15 on his team he's affecting. I use the word fascinating with Coach. I think he's fascinating in a number of different ways, and that, to me, is at the top of the list, how he's never stopped learning.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for it, because I think it rubs off on the people he's around. And not to make this a parenting podcast, but going back,
you're talking to a parent, baby.
I'm using those lessons on raising my son, and the duality of being a parent has really blown me away. With it's the most challenging and the most rewarding simultaneously, and I'm constantly trying to weigh the opportunity costs involved with that. I want to be. When I'm at work, I want to be at home with my kid. When I'm with my kid, I'm thinking about work. Yeah. Well, I want to be good at both, right? And I need to constantly almost have a Buzz-like learning pace at how can I manage my time better so that I'm not sacrificing one or the other. And so that's been maybe a forgotten trait or benefit of working on Team Bus One is you're around several of those. Lyle, Devin,
correct.
Rock. Everyone kind of has that, and it multiplies, right? Compound. So,
will you come back in the future so we can talk about the needs for the Washington Nationals?
Oh, anytime. Juan Soto just signed with the Mets. I was holding out hope he was going to make his return, but $800 million is hard to turn down. So I don't blame him.
I can see that, but we'll talk.
I'll come back anytime, man. I enjoy it.
And JJ's got all the national stuff.
Yeah,
right?
we'll bring JJ next time. I'm debating to my wife that he just said "mama." I have video evidence. So maybe by the next 5 years from now, when I'm asked to be on again, he'll be articulating and pronouncing words multiple syllable words, and we'll have him on. We'll talk Nats.
So he might even replace you in 5 years, is what you're saying?
He could. He's got his mom's genes, so if he's coming for my job, I'm in trouble. I may be retiring early.
Thank you for doing this.
Appreciate you.
Lacey, I'm calling an audible. I'm going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to hear from Buzz Williams on Devin Johnson, and then Coach Dev will join us during the Aggie Basketball Hour. We'll step aside. Come on back to Rudy's in the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. It's Aggie Basketball from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12man.com/maroon contest and register. One winner and a guest will receive game tickets, a Buzz Williams autographed basketball, and you'll be recognized on the video board during the game. Register today at 12man.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. In our second half hour of the Aggie Basketball Hour, it will be with Coach Devin Johnson. But Buzz joined us after that 72-67 win at Fort Worth. He joined John Thornton and me postgame after that win over Texas Tech in Fort Worth and talked about Coach.
I think Coach Devin is making appropriate adjustments prior to the game, and I think he's teaching those really well where there's not confusion. And then I think because of the maturity of our guys, he's also teaching our guys in preparation, this is how we're going to play it, and then here's the adjustments behind how we're going to play it. And so it's a little bit of Doug Collins. When I was young, he was always really good to me, and he would practice the adjustments to the plan. Like in practice, he would practice the plan, and then he would teach them the adjustments to the plan. And I think some of that you don't necessarily see if it's the first time you're watching it. But in the flow of a game, some of the alterations to the plan, our guys are executing at a really high level. And what I just told Devin was his instinct on when to adjust to the plan has been like elite. And it happened a couple of times in the first half. I think we finished with 4 turkeys in the first half. We were not really good the first 10 and a half, 12 minutes of the second half defensively. But down the stretch, some of the changes he made in the full court, some of the changes he made in the half court, and then the last 5 minutes, we needed a turkey to win, is what we say, the last 4. And some of the changes combination that he made it in the full court into the half court, I thought it was a difference maker for sure.
Without a doubt, and it seemed they were just disrupted. Oh, you changed defenses.
I don't think that this said that their turnover rate was 22% of the time. That's not their team. That's not how he's coached anywhere he's been. And I think that for us to shoot 16 more balls, I know some of it is low turnover rate. I know some of it is our offensive rebounding rate. But some of it is what you're saying, that 18 times they gave us the ball. And they're not all live ball, but I think those adjustments kind of kept it yucky.
Right.
I think it kind of kept it not in rhythm. I think it kept it not in a groove. How we were utilizing Henry, some of the things we were doing at the top, in the front court, some of the ball screen coverage changes, I thought they were incredibly important in a second. Well, I mean, it's a one-possession game in the first half. It's a one-possession game in the second half.
And what Buzz was referring to, 34-31 at the half. A&M outscored Tech 38-36. One possession game in that second half. 5-point win, and now ranked number 17. So Buzz was talking about Devin Johnson. When we come back, we talk to Coach Dev. When the Aggie Basketball Hour and Buzz Williams rolls on from Rudy's, this is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. Head on over to your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com to place an order for their real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. And don't forget, Rudy's serves made-to-order and grab-and-go breakfast tacos every day until 10 a.m. That's where we are, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. And it's now the Aggie Basketball Hour with Devin Johnson. I'm just going to change the name is what I'm Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm telling you, that win against Texas Tech, now the Aggies are number 17, but 8-2, it has been a gauntlet, I guess is the right word. And I had asked Buzz this, can you do this without, or could you do this if this team wasn't as experienced? But Dev, when he's talking about being able to play defense against Tech, and before that Wake, and before that Rutgers and 2 number 1 picks, and Creighton with a 7-footer and an experienced point guard, and Oregon with their experience as well. How much credit, do you appreciate that this is a team where it's not so much playing all those games in a short period of time. It's more than just physical. It's a mental side as well, isn't it?
It's a huge mental side, and it just shows the type of players that we have and the experience that we have. So all credit goes to those guys for giving us the opportunity to adjust and make those in-game adjustments that we normally make. But to speak on all of those teams we played, all of those coaches are great offensive-minded coaches. Mm-hmm. And when you go into a game against a great offensive-minded coach, you never want them to feel comfortable. And just speaking on the Texas Tech game, they were beginning to get comfortable within our defense. And so changing it up around that 3-minute and 30-second mark of the second half and going to a zone, and then from the zone going to switching everybody 1 through 5, it kind of knocked them off their comfort zone. And it helped us at the end. And you saw that in all of those previous games as well.
Yeah, definitely against Wake Forest, where that game was in the balance. Buzz called it a tractor pull. He uses the word yucky. And we were just joking during the break. We do yucky really well, right?
Really, really well. Our guys are comfortable in the yucky.
Yeah.
And Coach does a great job of working on that, showing it to them. And as you know, our program is led off the truth. And so he talks to them about it all the time. It's not going to always be perfect, as we know. And when it's not perfect, can you find something that you do really well that helps the team and helps the program? And we have a group full of guys that can do that. Because
you are designing the defensive coordinator, associate head coach now for 3 years, but as I said off the top, you've been with Buzz for 14, and you've been in every role. You have to know offense as well. It can't be just – it's like Mike Elko for football, right? I'm a defensive coordinator, but I have to know the offense as well.
Yes, you have to know both sides. And Coach Lyle Wolf is our offensive coordinator and does a really good job of it. And so I learn a lot of the other team's offense because I'm watching what they're running. So that we can prepare defensively for what they're running. But, yes, you have to know both sides of the ball. You have to know the special teams part of it, the baseline out of bounds, the sideline out of bounds. You have to know all of it just to, like I spoke about earlier, just to figure out ways to get that competitive advantage in between the lines.
Well, Buzz always talks about if you look, it's not just a game of segments, which it is, but how many times are there plays that are out of bounds? And what I love and really illuminated to me was, okay, if we have the ball underneath our own basket, it's not just if we score, what do we do then on the ensuing defensive possession?
Exactly.
So important, isn't it not?
Very,
and this team
very
thrives
important
on that. They love the special teams in those situations.
Yes, very important. And if you want to shrink it down a little bit lower, it gets to substitution as well. And so the Wake Forest game, going into that game, they're really good special teams, baseline out of bounds, sideline out of bounds. And so Coach said going into the game, every time the ball goes out of bounds, if Solomon Washington is not in the game, check in. And so if you go back to that game and you look at it, he was subbing in every time. There was one possession where he had just came out, ball went out of bounds, he turned around and go right back in. And so we talked through a lot of things during the game, but the way Coach approaches the game is amazing and remarkable, and that special teams category is really big to him.
Because when he brings it up that we'll use the number 70, a 70 possession game. Well, this is how many times you're in that special team. So we're all thinking it's 5-on-5 all the time up and down the floor. It's rarely that.
It's rarely that.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And he's also real good about saying, boy, Missouri's really good on out-of-bounds plays. We've got to be really good. Or how Tennessee runs. They're so good off the ball, right? When they run. He's very good about that. But I sometimes like to turn it around and say, boy, I'd be interested to see what the scouting report is for Texas A&M. And all that you have to do. I mean, look, he was at Virginia Tech with Frank Beamer and special teams. every team had 20 hours of prep, but you knew they did extra special teams because they knew Virginia Tech football was going to get them. And I think with Buzz, you've got to be ultra prepared to take on this Texas A&M team, because John Thornton said this. You hear, hey, they're a good rebounding team. Until you're in the middle of it and fighting for that live ball, as you guys call it, you don't know. It's like you don't know how fast Kentucky is until you play them, or Florida is until you don't know how good a rebounding team Texas A&M is. But we're so comfortable. We talked about the yucky. We're so comfortable being us.
We're comfortable in it. And it's great that you bring that point up. I was talking yesterday to an assistant from Texas Tech after the game, and he was telling me about the rebounding. And number 0 for them normally is just a three-point shooter. But they had their post player out yesterday, and he's a rebounder. And so they had to transition number 0 into a rebounder, which we call a go-get for the first half. And it threw him off of his game. He wasn't comfortable. And the assistant coach was telling me after the game what you just said. You don't know how impactful our guys are at going to get the rebound until you're in between the lines. And he was saying that that's all their players kept saying was, oh, my gosh, they're going every time, every single time. And if you're not prepared for that, and if that's not who you are, and that's not a part of your foundation, then it's going to overwhelm you over 40 minutes.
Because it's not going to be just once. It is a wave. It's an ocean. It's the DNA. This is what we do. And if you don't, and that's a big if, because our players do it, someone's coming off that bench to do it. Right?
Exactly right.
That role.
And it's hard, like you're saying, we play 10 guys. And so you have guys that's subbing in the game that's hungry, that want to play, that want to prove a point. And so they're going to rebound. But also they're diving on the floor. They're defending. They're running full speed. They're trying to guard. They're doing everything they possibly can to prove that they belong. And so it's hard to play against a team like ours right now because our energy and our morale is so high.
How do you put in a scouting report, here's Anderson Garcia, he will guard you anywhere on the floor. We know that he can rebound, 16 of them against Wake Forest. But to me, the game sealing play was slapping the ball out of a guy's hand, not committing the foul, getting on the floor first, passing it to a teammate, and then finishing a three-point play on the other end of the floor. It's just, you either have that or you don't.
Exactly.
And to watch that growth in him has been exciting.
I agree with that. And also, how about Henry Coleman yesterday?
Saving everybody on Tech quit, but nobody on A&M quit that play, right? Zoo knew he was going to save it.
Yes, and Jace, Henry going out of bounds on the side and threw it back, and Jace had already sprinted down to get it and get a layup. How about that, man? Those type of plays are winning plays in our program, and that just goes back to the yucky part that you're talking about. We're comfortable in that. And again, Anderson Garcia could do it. Solomon Washington can do it.
Yes.
You know, Anderson not having one of his good games yesterday, a bad game for him, but
we got
congratulations. We got Solomon Washington.
We've got you,
in the game.
Because so, Anderson, I know that's fine. You're allowed to have one. Right?
Exactly. You're allowed to have one. And so the depth on our team gives us the opportunity to allow him to have one. And we're going to sub in some other guys. And so it's just really fun to coach these guys. Coach has done an amazing job of keeping this group together for so long in this new college model.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it, and it's just excited to be around.
When we come back, Steve has a question about Solo. We'll talk about Solomon Washington. We return. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. At Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill, we source high-quality ingredients and make our recipes from scratch every day. Starting with our fresh tortillas to our chips and queso, Baja Bowls, quesadillas, tacos, and more. Find us at CostaVita.com or at the Costa Vida in South College Station. We continue. It's the Aggie Basketball Hour. We're with Devin Johnson. 14 years with Buzz. You started as a manager with every role. He was saying third-year associate head coach with him. So when anybody comes and says to you, thinking they're going to get a sympathetic ear, oh, man, I can't believe, or their role, and you're just looking at them going, I know, I've been there.
Yes. 14 years. It has went by fast. I've learned a lot, too. So very grateful to be around a guy like him and learn so much from Coach. And just the opportunities and the places that he has taken myself and my family, and the things that him and Corey have done for our family is unbelievable, and I can't thank him enough for just learning every day. I mean, you guys see, a social media page, or you might hear an interview. I get a chance to see that every day. Yeah. And so
you're actually
grateful.
living it.
Yeah, I live it. I live it for 14 years. And I've saw the changes. I've seen the changes in him from, his first year as a head coach at the University of New Orleans to now. And so very grateful for the opportunity that he's given me to sit in all of those roles in his programs and to learn all of those chairs and get to where I'm at right now. I'm very humble.
You've earned his trust, correct?
I have.
And it's the other way around.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm still trying.
And if he were a fraud, Dev, you wouldn't be around him.
Right.
I say this, not just college basketball. College athletics needs more Buzz Williams, not fewer.
I would agree with that because his loyalty in people. He allows you to make mistakes. He allows you to learn. And you don't find that a lot in any profession. Right. And I would agree with you. College sports needs more leaders like Coach Buzz.
Steve has a question for you. When Solo is hitting three-pointers, how much harder is it for teams to defend this Aggie offense?
Really, really hard. If Solomon Washington is making three-point shots and he's still going downhill, getting to the paint, using this athleticism and guarding, we are a really hard team. But I can say that for all of our guys. Right. Jace Carter had an amazing game for us yesterday. How about his response? He was starting before. Yesterday he didn't start. He came off the bench. And his response was amazing. And when he's making shots, our offense changed. Hayden Hefner played amazing for us yesterday. 0 points. But his ability to attack the glass for rebounds, how hard he was playing defense and staying in front of the ball, his communication on the defensive end was amazing. And so if all of our guys are making shots, it's really hard to guard us.
John Thornton says this about Solo, and he'll say it about a lot of players, but the thing about Solo is you have to know where number 9 is on the floor. He influences the game in so many different ways. And we got on a discussion about how you as a staff grade every rebounder, not just the one who gets the rebound. The other 4, if it's a defensive rebound, and then if it's an offensive rebound, you're grading all 5 on the floor. Solo may not get the rebound, but Solo's work is allowing Jace to come up with that rebound or Pharrell to come up with that rebound. His game has expanded. There's such an understanding. Buzz talks about how smart he is, and there's that basketball IQ as well for him that it's been really a joy to watch him develop now in his junior year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. When I was recruiting Solo out of high school, he played the post in high school.
Did he
really? He was the 5-man at Carver High School in New Orleans. And just to see his growth from a 5-man to now a wing, a guard, what we call a guard, it is amazing. But it's just credit to who he is. He's a hard worker. But to touch on what you're talking about, his ability to go after rebounds opens it up for other players to get rebounds. And his energy that he brings to the game, his willingness to do whatever it takes to win because he hates to lose. That's what gets him on most teams' scouting reports. Yes. And that frees up for his teammates to get rebounds and frees up for his teammates to get open shots and things like that. And so he's to watch his growth, I'm so proud of him because I've seen him for a long, long time. And to watch his growth on the floor is good, but his growth off the floor is what's touching to my wife and I. Because we've seen him grow. His mom has done an amazing job with him. His sisters has as well, and they're so proud of him as well. And so I hope he continue to play as great as he's been playing because he deserves it.
He really does. Aggies are 8-2. Take on Purdue. We'll talk about Purdue on Saturday. One final segment, Aggie Basketball Hour. When we return, it's Aggie Basketball from Learfield. When you want a quick, delicious, and nutritious hot meal in minutes, look no further than Heat Ups. Convenient, high-protein meals on the go. For local pickup in Aggieland, head on over to heatups.com to place your order. Heat Ups, meals made simple. Our final segment of the Aggie Basketball Hour, we're with Coach Devin Johnson. Stop me if you heard this before, but this might be the best team you're going to face next, Purdue on Saturday. I feel like we've said that the last 2 weeks, haven't we?
Every game.
UCF, Ohio State.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But that's the way it is. Purdue's another challenge for this team on Saturday, isn't it?
They're really, really good. Three-headed monster, number 2, number 4, number 3. Their point guard is really, really good. He gets everybody involved. Their post player is the leading scorer. And so the point guard's averaging 8 assists a game. The post player is the leading scorer, and then their wing can really shoot it. He's shooting 50% from 3. And so they're really, really good. Another offensive-minded coach.
Yes.
And so we're going to have to play a good game for 40 minutes.
I know that Buzz has brought players in, and the running joke is every time a player's coming in, I'll text Rock and say, Rock, does he fit? Rock, does he fit? And he finally said, Andrew, if you think he didn't fit, do you think we would bring him in? Right? But Matt Painter has not used the transfer portal. Normally he will, homegrown, but I feel it's the same way. Buzz is very much the same way that these guys fit, and it's an identity for that team. 20 years there as well for Matt. I mean, it's been Gene Cady and Matt Painter for years there at Purdue. But that says something as well for their program. The coaches are very similar that way. You can play in college. You may not be able to play at Purdue. You can play in college. You may not be able to play for Buzz at Texas A&M.
Right. And he's a really good coach. He lost the Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And they're ranked 8th in the country still.
Yeah.
And so you're right. He develops players within his system, the same as coach and what we do here. We developed our players, and so it'll be a really good game for us on Saturday. Another test to see how we match up against other good teams.
Yeah, in Indy will be fun.
It would be fun.
I say the same thing when we play football, to be able to play in Arlington or to be now at the Las Vegas Bowl in Allegiant Stadium, to play in an NBA building. Look, these guys want to play there. So that's pretty fun as well, isn't it? Just like Memphis in the tournament.
I agree. And the schedule that we have, it helps prepare them for what's coming next, not on the floor, but off the floor as well. And so I love our group. I'm glad that we're having the opportunity to play these teams with this group because we're learning so many lessons with good people. And so the opportunity to be around these guys when it gets hard and to learn together is huge for us.
I know losses hurt, but what struck me on Sunday was, hey, we took care of business. It was very businesslike. Not that they didn't enjoy it, but hey, this is what we're supposed to do. I really like that mentality for this team as well.
And we're still learning. You know, a lot of people look at the experience that came back, and they think we should have it figured out, but we don't. We're still learning. Every day you're supposed to learn. And so we've learned from those 2 losses, and we've learned from these wins as well. And so there are going to be more losses. Hopefully it's not, but it's going to be some more losses that we have, but we're going to learn. Yeah. And again, I'll repeat, to learn with this group, to learn with our program, that means more than anything to us. And so Coach Buzz is doing an unbelievable job of not staying in the moment and not getting out of who we are, sticking to our foundation. That's what he's been preaching to our guys, and our guys have been doing an unbelievable job of sticking to our foundation. And if we lose the game, we tip our hat to that team. But we know when we get back in the locker room, we stuck to our foundation, and that night, our foundation just didn't win. But we're not going to get away from who we are.
This has been the Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams.